start over. I mean, this isn't gonna hit the May meeting. I mean, this is gonna take time, because we've gotta do it right. And the reason is because while we may say that a corporation or a big company or whatever is going to do the right thing, time and time again, they've proven that that's not always the case.
And that's very.
So we're writing the regulations that say, I don't trust you, this is, if you want to do this, we're going to follow these regulations. And we will, if we need to get engineers to tell us, if we need to get attorneys, that's what we will have to do. When we get done with this, and there's questions, we say, is this the correct engineering? Then we'll go find out if that's right before we move forward. So just to say that, well, we don't know, so we're not even going to put it in there.
No, I'm not saying we don't know it's not put in there. I'm just saying that it's unnecessary for us to get into the detail of how they're going to do it.
I think when the project is scale, everything is necessary for us to dive into. That's our job.
Part of it is, this is fairly new technology and new processes. We don't know how it's going to end up. So if we don't protect ourselves in the beginning, we may end up on the wrong end of things. And we're protecting the quality of life for Jackson County residents, not the interests of a major corporation. That's not why I'm here.
No, that's what I'm here for, is protect Jackson County. Jackson County residents, and I'd like to more focus on how we can make this, try to pull everybody in as much as possible. We'd be good for the fact, now while they're just still chatting, we would save ourselves a whole lot. I think I'd feel more comfortable if we just said, sorry, if you want to be in Jackson County, we're going to have to design an agrivoltaic system. And to, so that we have grazers and we have a plan for grass that's going to cover the fires. You want to tell them what they can do. Start right off the bat. You know you're going to build them up high enough that you can have animals and maybe make hay and mow, which there'll be room for mowing. But,
Well, the reason and this is where I've kind of gone back and forth in this, is to call it an agrivoltaic system, the county would lose out on the benefits of a tax bump, because ag use is taxed at a use value, and this system would be taxed at a market value, which is approximately 4 times greater. So if we're going to do this, then I want the landowners who choose to do this to have a dog in the fight and bump their property taxes to do this. They're greatly changing the landscape of this county. So this was part of our conversation where we had talked about the pilot, and that's the company paying everything in lieu of taxes. But I want the landowners to have a fight, or have a seat at this, So if we don't allow agrivoltaic, then it bumps that up to a market value, and it's a 4 times greater tax increase.
oh, well, that's disappointing that all taxes got into it.
That's how it
Yeah,
benefits this county.
I never thought about tax value. I was thinking more about what my neighbors would think.
But that's the whole reason for doing this, is to benefit the county. Because it's not only, the electricity's not going to benefit the county. So we have to make sure that we get the most improvement for changing the landscape of our county.
And you just really said that again, we're changing the landscape of the county. And I think changing the landscape of the county to say, no, Jackson County, we're ranchers and we're farmers, and we're going to try to make it fit into ranching and farming. And I'd love to see some goats out there. and we're gonna make it goat, new goat ranch, you know what I'm saying? We made them incorporate our rule.
You guys, Matt, I'll just run through a few more of these
Yes,
things,
sorry.
just that way I'm not holding anything up. So, the battery storage, number 5. The battery storage is that's strictly prohibited. I was just trying to see if there's discussions on it.
What would you call it? This is
I'm sure I've read it.
it's not code, it's the goal.
It's what the county wants, the direction we want to move the county in. The county says they want.
Right, and this document is in and around for,
Yeah, we just reworked, we just spent all, really what, last winter? Yeah, right at the end of last year, we went through the entire, comprehensive plan, made any changes. Really, we all felt that pretty much the way, because I think that was done in 2001 or something like that.
so it's been up there.
2009.
2009, okay.
Wait, no, 2002.
Okay. So, you know, we, for the majority of us who are on the board, which I think was just, me and Chris at the time, that are in this room right now, the way it's written, that's the way we all felt that this is the way the county should still, push it. Which is we're an agricultural county, really.
And I think it says in there at some point, but it is written because county commissioners change very often. And if it had to, just like if you said, I want to go through this comprehensive plan when we just approved it, well, this board changes, the county commission changes. There has to be a set of rules that they kind of go by that makes changes take longer so that it doesn't just always constantly change. I mean, when it was first written back in the early 2000s, 2002, it was moved to where you had to have 20 acres to build a house. You could build it on 3, but you had to have 20, so that you couldn't put 10 houses on an 80 without changing the zoning. And so it was,
Well, and that's in the regulations, right? Because really, the comprehensive plan holds there's no teeth to the comprehensive plan, right?
It's just a broad.
but that's in the zoning
Right.
regulations.
I'm just saying that, yes, then that falls under, because that's the comprehensive plan and the regulations.
County commission guidelines.
Yes. And so this part of the deal, this is an industrial plan that we don't have, we have a zoning we have a I-2 industrial zone, but we're not asking to change the zoning of these pieces of land. We're asking to put a conditional use permit in. And so that's where all of this ties in together.
That was one of the questions from the survey. If we're concerned about the Jackson County, and we don't want to call this modern agriculture, why not just call it industrial? Why not rezone the area to industrial?
I don't want to answer that, or do you want me to be This is what we talked about a month ago or 2 weeks ago. That if we change the zoning to I-2, because that's just where I was at a month ago, until I did my research, discovered that then this would be allowed, but there are very few limitations in this book on I-2, industrial 2, that we would not be, they could put whatever they wanted in that piece of land. By not changing the zoning, we could still fall under the regulations of the conditional use permit, and we would have more stipulations on what happens there.
So it's about controlling and telling them how they're going to do it. Thank you for answering my question.
We control everything. If somebody wants to put a hog barn right next to your property, they have to follow setbacks, they have to follow rules. There's a lot of things that they do.
Thank you. Well, no, that's what I was going to say, is thank you for mentioning it. That it only seems fair to me that the setback should be the same for
And that's a disagreement that you and I have, that you consider this ag use and I do not. And I will not.
oh, that's okay. I'm just saying, if we look at definitions and, we're gathering the sun and creating electricity plants, gathering the sun.
Where you at now?
I'm actually, the other things that I highlighted, I need to go back and look at more before I bring them up, so I'm good.
So you want to highlight the module part on number 14?
Yeah, that definition needs to change.
From what I understand, the commissioners tried to streamline the process for us so that we didn't have 9 people trying to put together the regulations. They put together a draft and then gave it to us to go through and make changes, to look at it, to not look at it, to throw it in the trash, whatever. That's our prerogative. My thing is I want to write regulations that, whether it's today or 20 years from now, that we're covered with regulations.
Trying to get me out of here, aren't you?
No,
I will be here 20 years.
and that's the reason, I mean, that's one of the things that I think about is that my family has been in Jackson County for over 130 years, and God willing, we'll be here for another 100. So I want to see Jackson County prosper, but yet, yeah, and do it, and that's why I'm here, is to have a say.
So you have no electrical background, you're a farmer?
Yes.
You have,
And I have a personal solar system.
Yeah, I looked at getting one 20 years ago, 40, 30 years ago, but the cost, solar panels and the battery technology was just too much.
But also, I don't feel that I need to have it. I mean, that's one thing that people try to use today is that because you don't have an expertise in this field, you can't have an opinion.
No, oh no, it's not about an opinion, I was just back to the comment earlier, that solar systems are being no, they're not, this is not. It's the cost. It's
Private.
viable.
I mean, what's the longest commercial solar farm that's been in operation? I don't either. But that's what I'm going at is has anybody ever seen one decommissioned?
No, yeah, that's actually right.
And to say that something's gonna happen 30 years from now when I don't even know that I'm gonna be here in 30 years. So we can't say that, oh, it's gonna be okay in 30 years. We don't know. And so we're trying to protect ourselves now
Right,
for the next generation.
right.
And
No, that's really good to have an decommissioning plan. I think that the state's getting, that is good.
What is it? This is an amendment to this? What is this?
In terms, and still have in my head. But I agree, on this, I'm wrapping my head around what you said.
we've been wrapping our heads for months.
yeah, and that's not your fault. You know,
And I understand, yeah,
we didn't anticipate when we started looking through these, getting 3 new members in the middle of it. So that you guys have to, you signed up to do the same thing that I did. You wanted to have an input in this.
right. Well, I want to make sure it got done too. And I still think we could go back and we could simplify a little bit. I'm not going to, I don't, wow. What did I say?
Well, and I said this at the beginning. I wanted to separate the current project that is, everybody knows about, and these regulations. Because these regulations could have or should have been done 10 years ago, but we didn't have a reason to do it. today we have a reason to write regulations. So we're writing the regulations without worrying about the project, so that the regulations are in place for the county. Then if the project moves forward and we give regulations to apply for a permit, that's the next step. But these regulations are not based on a specific project.
And we're not writing these for next year.
Well, it sounds like, and I'm telling you, I've got to be careful what I say. Because it's a little disappointing. Well, it seems like we're trying to make sure it doesn't happen. I just had to say.
And I'll say,
Because, yeah, it's really.
everybody has an opinion on whether or not that they think that commercial solar is a viable option. And do we want to use it in our county? Why not put solar panels on top of Walmart or down the center of I-70?
Thank you.
Why are we using ag farmland
Okay.
to do this? There's plenty of other places to do so. It's the low-hanging fruit that it's easy, and that's why we're writing regulations.
And that's what solar fields are, they gotta cover it.
Oh, and
Anyway,
this
I thought this is basically all cattle country out there, it's not originally farm.
Jackson County doesn't really have a prime farm.
yeah, we don't have it.
So, yeah,
But
you say it's low hanging fruit, it's in a great area, that's what I thought was.
the underlying this is the acknowledgement that the county needs other sources of income. Read the whole paper, 31.3% of the land of Jackson County is not taxed. That's going to increase every year as the Native Americans put more and more land in trust. So this is an opportunity to get some more money into the county.
Right, and that's what I'm all about too. And it's funny, I see I'm the small guy.
But we don't want to just roll over and play dead. Not going to just roll over and play dead and do whatever you want to do.
And you spoke earlier of a poll or a vote or whatever. It's allowing a small small portion of landowners to regulate what happens in the county. That's why we're writing the regulations. Because if we took a vote,
That's what I'm here for.
there may be a majority of the county people that say, I don't care about the tax benefits that's gonna come from this, we don't want it. And so, we don't have the power to put this to a vote. But that may be what needs to happen, so that the county can say, I'm gonna accept that my road's not great because we don't have any money, but I don't want this, or I do want it. I want the additional tax revenue. I'm on both sides of it because we need more tax revenue. But yet I think there's other ways to do things. And,
Responsible, that's what they're responsible for the county monitor. That's what they're all.
and, I mean, the elephant in the room is the federal tax subsidies through this commercial solar that's down the road, that doesn't even matter.
That's one of the things that's made it possible.
So where are you guys at on this? You've done, you've read through?
We have completely read through them. There's things in there that we didn't finalize.
We've gone through it line by line.
Yeah,
Right.
but like, we haven't come to a decision on like the decibels and stuff like that. That's one thing that we're still, I don't know.
In that conversation, Dick was gonna travel to Wisconsin and visit a solar farm.
Yeah.
See how that goes?
Yeah. There are things in here that we're not done. We just read everything and kind of had our input, whatever. And that's where, as a group, we don't want to do that again. But by the next meeting, I mean, if you guys can read through this and say, okay, this is what I want to talk about. We don't need to talk about this one, I agree with this one, but this one we need to talk about. And that's what we need to do. So that you have the opportunity to
If you're in the,
Yeah.
I got a lot of input on emergency
we call it agrivoltaic, hardly nobody can complain, we've done our part. And then and then the second one was, instead of trying to put everything in writing, if possible, say that no, that we will go back and leave the big things open, glare noise, lighting, that we can go back as the county, as a commission, and make changes. How do we, instead of trying to put everything solidly in writing, we leave a panel of experts or a panel to address issues after the install.
Because then, if it's,
So if there's glare, you won't.
right, but if you address it in the beginning, then there's no problem with it. But if you try to go back later and say, all right, we found out that this is a problem, and it's gonna take 5 years to fix it. And when it could have been stopped in the beginning.
And I'll point out to you the opinion letters of the solar survey. That was one of the ones that the lady had a picture, and it looked like the solar panels were a quarter mile away. But that picture has some pretty good glare in their backyard. They were complaining about glare from these,
And so that's why we put a quarter-mile setback on.
and let's see if they do we need it. There's still this
I
glare.
don't think with that picture, you can tell how far that is.
No, oh no, I'm just saying, it looks
You
like it's a
could've
long
been-
way away.
10 feet away.
Yeah, and so a large, so that made my point that a really large setback isn't going to necessarily
But it might be.
solve that.
It's not gonna solve it.
Right. I mean, a quarter mile, even if there is glare at a quarter mile, there's probably gonna be more glare at 500 feet.
It's crazy. So you wouldn't know those issues until it was sitting on the ground. Then we're gonna, what do we have, we need to build in a vehicle that we can go back, if it takes 4 years, we can go back and fix it. Even if,
Or why not be more restrictive to start with and then go back and allow, because we have that in the addendum, that if technology changes, we can go back and say, all right, you can,
no, that is a good part there.
I believe we also have in the regulations that if you do it following everything and there is a problem, it can be revisited and we can
And then it's
up the standards or whatever we need to do to address that issue.
I mean, talk about glare, talk about distance, really, these panels in the sun, they all kind of move the same day in, day out, right? You take the elevational civil drawings and say, okay, that's, you're building the valley, there's gonna be glare, around, it takes a while, I mean, you can definitely look at that if you wanted to, because there's no tree berm that's gonna stop the glare from shooting up the hill up to the house up there, that's a mile up the road. You can definitely do that as part of the approval process, if you so wanted to do it. There is a way to estimate if there's going to be glare that affects other people just based on the elevations of the ground. There's an avenue for that too, if you want to go down there.
comment forms that we received are from leaseholders. Very few positive comment forms we received from non-participants.
Right. No, it is new, it's new. And they want to outlaw cars and cars. As you get us now.
But this is not,
Yeah, you know,
is it sustainable?
People are automatically, it's human nature to resist change.
I mean, one of the questions that I have with this entire project is, it says it's a 30-year term, and then it's gonna tear it out. Well, who in their right mind is gonna go through the work, put all the infrastructure in, and build this thing, and in 30 years, tear it all back out?
Oh, yeah. Where did that come from?
That's what they say.
Is that what they said? I thought that, yeah, because I would
So
imagine.
we're gonna reclaim all the ground in 30 years and tear out all of it. Why would you go to the investment if it wasn't for the federal tax subsidies?
Well, I think the 30 years is the estimated life of the county.
Right, but then why wouldn't you put
But any
new
business,
things up?
yeah, of course, it's gonna stay there as long
But
as
that's,
they have
that's
that.
the selling point, is that it's gonna be 30 years and then we're gonna reclaim the land. I don't buy that.
Well, but the 30 years is if they don't wanna go on beyond 30 years, then they'll have to take it out.
But that's the selling point, is that this is only a 30-year program, and I don't buy that. This is the life of our county.
I never thought it was a 30-year program. I figured it'd be there as long as they can provide power.
But that's not.
That's just good business. They got all that infrastructure, why would you take it out? You can continue to sell power.
That's, I agree with
Yeah.
that. But that's not what's being,
I think the tax of misinterpretation,
maybe so.
that it's in 30 years, technology is change. Technology is gonna change. Hey, it's not gonna be solar panels in 30 years. Might be some saltwater ocean buckets. You know what I'm saying? And so they're saying, you know, this technology can't change faster than 30 years.
And so that's what we're trying to do, is
Okay,
protect Jackson County from being the scapegoat or the guinea pig for the future.
We have disposal stuff in here.
Yes.
I'm gonna reread their statement about that, the decommissioning. and the 30-year. You gotta say, I didn't read it as, it's gonna be this, decommissioning is an option.
Is there anything in the fire code that they're talking about as far as solar, areas and fire? Because there used to be a field that has one entrance now, and you're saying that there's some more potential. Is the fire code, is there anything that they can talk about that at all?
I haven't got the newest version. The original regs that I read, there wasn't a lot that I felt that was there to protect
There's a project on the horizon, you know, that they're forcing us to do this. Had we wrote these before, it might have been different, because Beasley Fire might not have been involved. It could have been Dennis or whatever, you know, because this project is out there, Beasley Fire is involved. And so, yeah, we're writing these because of that. And I think that there's a particular location in this county that, if this was gonna go forward, to meet all of the things that we're doing. I don't wanna see this thing strung out for 10 miles, here and there and everywhere, and just whatever. If it were to happen, that doesn't. So that's what, it's hard for me to think about just the regulations without thinking about the product that's out there. And I wanted to, you know,
She's saying that. Makes sense.
Yellow is changes that you guys made.
Yeah.
Blue is